Welcome to Conversations with the Masters. Technology gives us the ability to do the impossible. We're doing things today that was impossible just 2 years ago. By the way, we'll be doing things 2 years from now that are impossible today. And many of those things are giving us the ability to automate redundant tasks, to grow our businesses in new ways. We live in an increasingly technological world, but we got to remember we live in a human world, and it's all based on relationships. So, can the two work together? Can you use technology to enhance and create new relationships? Well, that is the subject of what we're getting into today. Our expert today is Terry Brock, and our subject today is growing business through relationships and technology. As an author, Hall of Fame keynote speaker, consultant, and blogger, Terry helps his clients grow by combining the best of new and relevant technology with time-honored principles for building mutual beneficial business relationships. Terry's clients use his expertise in a wide variety of ways. For example, he's been a chief enterprise blogger for Skype, a chief retail advisor for Ace Hardware, and those are just a few. I've known Terry for over 30 years, and he's constantly testing new technology to find the best tools leaders can use to grow their businesses. If you need a tool to do something, Terry is a great go-to guy who most likely knows the best tool to use. And especially since the launch of OpenAI's chat software, Terry has identified a number of AI tools to build relationships with important stakeholders and, of course, to grow your business. So without further ado, welcome, Terry.
Great to be with you, Dan. Let's make some magic today.
All right, you got it. Well, with new technology and growth in mind, the idea of using technology to grow relationships, that is extremely important and almost sounding counterintuitive because, here's technology, cold, cruel, doesn't do anything unless we apply it. And then there's the human side. And I've seen technology used to destroy relationships, not intentionally, because they weren't thinking of how they were going to apply the tool. They didn't think that through. We can create a more humane world, a more connected world. We can increase collaboration and communication, or use the same tool to do the opposite. Again, it's not the tool, it's how you use it. So what are some tools you've been playing with lately that can grow relationships? I want to get into a wide list. And for our people that are watching this, I'd like you to keep your opportunity antenna up high, listening for the ones that you think, hey, we can use that one, and make some notes. So Terry, why don't you give me a few that might be useful?
Well, I think what we got to do is look at why do we use this technology? It's to get something done, and it really becomes an extension of our brain. Using that for relationships is really the key. And how we use technology really depends on what we want to do. It can be used for good or for bad. And hey, that's been around since Og, my buddy Og, came up with the idea of fire way back in the cave. It can be good. It can cook your food. Hey, keep you warm. Oh, but it can kill people. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it can destroy. Well, yeah, all of that is true, and it's been true. So what you want to look at is, what do people want? What can we use to strengthen and build relationships? Start by asking that question. You've helped many people, including me, through the years. Make sure you're asking the right questions. Because if we're thinking, what is a cool new gizmo? Hey, the geek in me likes that. But you got to look at, what do we want to do? Well, we want to connect with people. You want to connect with people on a human-to-human relationship. One of the best ways to do that today that we've got available is video. And when you can use tools like Loom. Loom is one of my favorites. That's Loom. They've got a free version and a wonderful paid version that's very inexpensive. It gives you the ability to create a quick video so that I can send you a video, Dan, and this is really Terry. This is not a form letter. It's not something you just cranked out. It's right there, and I'm showing you something. When I work with a lot of clients, for instance, and some consulting that I would do, people might send me an email, and they say, Terry, got 3 questions I need to ask you, A, B, and C, and it's right there on the email. So what I like to do is use a tool like Loom, where I can go on the screen and say, Dan, I got your email, and let me respond to those one at a time here. And on the screen, you see me and you see the text. So people are saying, oh, that's kind of nice. We're taking technology to enhance relationships, to really build those. Well, and I think that's really a good example.
Yeah. So you think of it, a way to think of this is as a video email is a way to think of it, right?
Exactly.
It's a video email that you're sending somebody. And so it's got that personalization. I'm specifically talking to you now rather than typing to you now.
Mhm.
And I think there are so many subtle things that we give off as a human in video form that are invisible when it's just a flat, one-dimensional type text. So I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
and the applications to that come to mind immediately is sales and marketing people, I would think, would use that
Yes.
strongly. So in other words, for those of you listening to this, you have make sure your sales and marketing people know about Loom and how to use it and what those tools are. What other groups might be good to use Loom with, again, as an application within an organization?
I think when you're in a support capacity and you want to support someone, like for instance, just this morning, I have a client I'm working with. They're designing some new tools on AI, how to use it. I put together a Loom video for them, and this was early in the morning, so way before most people get up, but that's okay. I went through and I said, oh, I like what you're doing here. And this word right here, notice here in the upper left corner, we're doing this, or don't down here. And here's a way that you might enhance it where I see this right here. It works better. So you're building those relationships by saying, here's a way I can, honest to goodness, really help you out. This is something they want. And you can go back and say, this is a way we're doing. I like what you're doing here, but we could probably strengthen it if we did something a little different. When you've got video, it's a much more human-like experience. I mean, for instance, right now, Dan, you're out there, you're in California now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in California. I'm here in Orlando, but it's almost as if we were right across the table from each other at a little hotel, a cafe, because our technology has gotten that good. So this can help build those relationships. We're helping people, providing the support they need in a real positive way. Oh, and by the way, Dan, we can also then use that in a variety of places so that it's not just when I'm here at home, but I might be on the street. I'm in, let's say, Boston, and I've run by a restaurant that I know you really like. Hey, Dan, look at this. Look where I am right now, right here by your favorite. That's human. That's human to human communication. Hey, Dan, another benefit of this, you can talk faster than you can type. That means you get more done from brain down into the message when you use video or voice dictation, and you're able to do it faster. So it's a win all the way around.
Yeah. And my cautionary tale for everyone is don't use it for every communication. In other
Agreed.
words, this is not replacing your normal email. This is being used strategically as a tool at the right time, because if everything I get from Terry is going to be a video thing, after a while, it's like, yeah, God, because
Exactly.
because it's kind of like it's this opposite is true. If everything is just type, after a while, you're going, oh my God. The other thing that's really interesting about this, because we're spending a lot of time on this one tool, but it's a good one, so it's worth the time. And that is very few are doing this.
Mm.
So, I mean, I don't have a lot of people, and I get thousands of emails a day from all over the place, and I don't see very many people doing it. Well, what do we all want to do? Stand out. And one way to stand out is to do what the others aren't doing.
Bingo.
And exactly. So this, even though this tool, frankly, has been around for a while, and you and I know this is not a brand new tool, the idea of a video email. The reality is not many people are using it, so you can you can stand out with this. And
Yeah,
again,
you stand out in a favorable way. That's the key. You can stand out, but maybe this guy's kind of weird doing what he's doing, but you want it to be in a favorable way. And by the way, another way we can use the tools that will help connect with people is think about it on LinkedIn. Great platform. I know you're doing a huge amount of good on LinkedIn, Facebook, tools like that. If you could send a voice message to someone on LinkedIn, that stands out in a favorable way. Keeping it short, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, you almost have to listen to it. I mean, there's something in us that's going, oh, somebody sent me a voice message here, and it's short. It's not a 3-hour long thing. It's 30 seconds. Like, hey, Dan, it was really good to see you last week when we went to the such and such place. It was really good. And I liked your idea about that. We might have to talk about that sometime. We'll be in touch. Something like that strengthens the relationship. It's voice, and sometimes voice only is appropriate. I agree with you so strongly on that. You don't want the one tool for everything, video for everything. No. Sometimes it might be that, let's say I'm coming to see you and we've got a meeting and I'm driving through and I get stuck in traffic. A quick text message, hey, Dan, I'm late. I'm at the corner of Smith and Jones Street. Should be there in 15 minutes. Okay, that's sufficient right there. And that's good relationship building, using the right tools in the appropriate way. And I think that's the real key to getting ahead.
Well, before we move on to another tool, let me just mention you gave me an idea that I haven't done. I've been messing around with LinkedIn for way over a decade. And as you know, I have way over 1 million followers and doing a lot with it. I have not used video to communicate on LinkedIn, and you gave me a great idea, and I am going to start doing that. And again, a lot? No. Strategically, just a little bit to the right person at the right time. I think it would be really great. So thank you. I love that one.
Bingo. You bet. By the way, another way you could do that, just as an example, you could say when you send a Loom video or something, find that. Remember years ago, Dan, we'd cut out a paper from a newspaper, from a magazine or something, and send it to somebody through the mail. Remember that long ago? Well, today what we can do is very easily just go, hey, Ralph, I know you're interested in this. I just read this article in Business Week or in Wall Street Journal, whatever. Here it is. Read a little bit of it. Thought you would find that interesting. And you send it over. That's building relationships right there as well.
Yeah. And by the way, I've done this. If you want to really deepen that relationship, it's great when you have a article that you're going to send and you let them know that, I mentioned that your daughter has this problem and blah, 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 blah. And here's an article that I think could help. Well, now you're talking helping my family. And if you're helping my family or my kids, what happens to the relationship? Well, it's even better yet. So there's many levels to this whole thing. All right, let's try another tool. Something else that comes to mind, and one that comes to mind is a Descript,
Yes.
which is worth mentioning right off the bat. Why don't talk about Descript a little bit?
Yeah, I am not using Descript as much, but it is a great tool. The idea of it is that you can record a video, and that's nice, and it transcribes it. Yes, that's good. But what you can do is you can do the editing kind of like you do on Word or Pages or a regular document, Google Doc. You can go in there and let's say you said, oh, it's going to be $300 for this widget. Okay. Oh, then you found out, I've recorded the whole thing. It's not $300. I just went up to $400. You can use Descript to go in on text, change the 300 to 400, and then here's where it gets really exciting. In your own voice, it is saying 400 instead of 300. That is really helpful. They do this with training your voice. You read some things in there and it understands, okay, this is Dan's voice. This is what Dan says and how he sounds. And that's good. And we can put that in there so you could change a phrase. You could even omit something, or it even gives you the ability to go in and all those filler words that we put in, and you can cut those out so it doesn't erode your credibility so much. You're able to enhance it and make it look really nice.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I think Descript was one to mention. How about another one?
I think there's a lot of other tools. I think that when you can use even something like Amazon, you might think, what do you mean Amazon? Well, Amazon can make it real easy for you to press a couple of keys and make sure that somebody receives just the perfect gift. So you find that out, you can do some research, find out what they're like, talking to some other people, and then through Amazon, of course, that's very easy, but I'm just saying that's something to remind people about, that they could use a tool like that to make sure that it's coming through well and that they are saying, hey, you remembered that, or we remembered your daughter's birthday was coming up next week and she liked this, sending that over. Using that and leveraging a tool like Amazon, hey, not that super sophisticated, but it really helps. And I think a lot of people can benefit from that.
Well, of course, everyone watching this knows that we now have this AI called generative AI, which is different than AI in the past in that it was learned off of what's called large language models. It's learned language, which is, by the way, how all humans communicate is on language. So if AI is trained on how we as humans communicate with each other, that's a different ballgame than in the past. And it's called generative AI for all those, I know you know this, Terry, but for everybody else out there, meaning it's generating new content. And in the past, AI didn't generate new things. It didn't draw things you didn't ask for. In other words, it didn't create its own stuff. But this is actually can create. It's, again, generative AI launched by OpenAI's chat product. And then, of course, we have others like Baird and Bard and a bunch of others that from the big companies that said, hey, I can't let that just them do it. We better do ours too. And now it created an AI basically war in a way to keep up, which is, well, when it was launched, it immediately threatened the $1 trillion business of Google. And Google had a, what kind of meeting, like, hey, we better do something now. And they're doing it. So with that said, text to text is one element of it, where you type in what's called a prompt and ask it to do something, and then it will very quickly give you that answer. But it's more than just text to text. And a tool that I wanted to bring up, for example, is Motion IT. Just one quick example. Motion IT is really a good one for you type in what you want, and it will create a PowerPoint. But it will not just create a PowerPoint with text. It'll create a PowerPoint with graphics and a PowerPoint with videos. So it's actually giving you a motion created super PowerPoint, probably better than you've ever done. And it's done just by you typing and telling it what you want. Another amazing tool. So there were a number of text to PowerPoint. There's a bunch of those tools. What are some of the ones that you're liking a lot?
Oh, I'm looking at a couple that are out there. One I've heard of and done just a little bit with, called Tome, Tome. Nice for creating a PowerPoint presentation. I tend to favor a tool that I've used for a long time, and many of us do, called Canva. And Canva gives you the ability to create their magic tools that are there, so you can have it create the actual slides that are PowerPoint slides, putting in the right pictures. Oh, you need a picture of two women working on a laptop computer smiling. You can literally type that in their text to image, TTI, text to image tool, and it can create really professional looking graphics that you can use, and they're legal. Dan, you and I, known as professional speakers, got to be careful on which pictures you use. You go over and grab this one, hey, you could be violating somebody's copyright. Not only is that not a good thing from business, it's not the moral thing to do. You don't steal from others. But when you concoct it and you create it within Canva and then put that into the presentation for a magic presentation in Canva, and you get all these slides, hey, that's pretty good. And then, of course, Dan, the thing is, you and I both know you're not going to stop there. You don't want it to do all the work. You go back and you customize it, personalize it with your own stories, because Canva or Chat GPT and tools like that, Dan, they don't know about the experience you had last March when you were over in Singapore and you did this and that. Those are the stories that you can blend in there in addition to this. But I think using Canva and Tome and, like you mentioned, Motion AI, those are great little tools, and more coming out all the time. I think the key is it's letting us get started even better. It's actually destroying writer's block, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, I like to think of it as your first draft electronic assistant. In other words, it'll get you 85% there really fast. But the magic is not in that first 85%. The magic is, first of all, realizing there's going to be some things that it might have made up. There's going to be some things, remember, it learned from the internet, that are not accurate.
No.
If you ask it for 10 books on let's say an obscure subject, and there were only 5 books written on that subject, it'll give you 10. It'll make up 5.
Yeah.
So, and it'll do that. And by the way, they'll all sound convincing. So that's where the human comes in, of making sure that you check it for accuracy, because it's all about trust. And then secondly, as you said so wisely, putting in your element to it. Now you got to bring you into it and your knowledge of them, or whoever it is that you're creating for. And I think that, I mean, from a time-saving standpoint, it's unbelievable. And I believe it'll make us far more productive. The warning that we should put out right now before we go further about this generative AI is that you got to be careful what you're sharing and working on in there. For
Yes,
example, Nokia recently, because it can do code, it can actually go text and create code to create software. And they
precisely.
put some of their Nokia software in there to correct it. Well, it turned out this was proprietary software of Nokia. It was some of the company jewels, and they put it in there. Well, now it learned it. It's part of open to the world now. So
Exactly.
you got,
Samsung did the same thing.
yeah,
And that's why they said, "Ooh, hoo, hoo, we're not going to use that anymore." And I think we're learning. It's kind of like go back to my analogy of Og inventing fire. Yeah, fire was really good, but they found very quickly it can get out of hand. So you got to learn how to control it. And that's what we have to do with technology.
yeah. That was Samsung, not Nokia. What I was thinking of as well on
Yeah.
that one, on that example. Nokia is a client, Samsung's a client, and I was thinking of the wrong client on that one. But yeah, it was Samsung. But they're now, luckily, Samsung told the world about what happened so that it warned the rest of us. Thank you, Samsung, for doing that. But again, be careful. So if you wouldn't share it with the world, be careful of sharing it. Luckily,
Precisely.
luckily, there's something called APIs, which lets you connect a API to your stuff to theirs in a secure way that allows you to use these things. Otherwise, business wouldn't be able to use AI. And I think you'll see companies that have an advantage here on the big level is going to be probably a Microsoft. Now, the reason I say that is Google lets you connect with all of the Google Docs and Google Calendars and Google this and Google that. However, because Google absorbs everything that you put into it and learns from it and uses it because it's a marketing and sales company, it's different than Microsoft, who has the major corporations around the world sharing and working within their closed system, and there's a certain level of trust that's built up there. So I think you're going to see Microsoft with a enterprise edge just because of that, going forward in terms of sharing those kinds of things. So just as a
I think you're right, Dan. As a matter of fact, I'll bet you, I'm not privy to this, but in the secret boardroom meetings at Google, they're going, okay, how can we get that enterprise edge? And how could we use AI to help us do it? So in other words, we've got all these challenges with AI. There's some scary things, some others. Well, let's let AI be our tool to help look at those things as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's not an easy task for
Right.
Google at this point. Again, that's where Microsoft has an edge. So am I saying Microsoft's a winner? Oh, no. Google is working with all of the non-enterprise world, which is a lot. Individuals, people, students, everything else. It's a big world out there. In other words, there's many giant groups and subgroups that everyone can profit from. You can create images from text. And there's a number like Dolly E2 and a number of those. Do you have one that you like the best?
Well, when I mentioned Canva, because I know Canva, their text to image, I really like. I like DAL E2 as well. It's got a good quality to it. You learn the way to use the prompts. That's the key. The prompts and how you describe it. It can create some really impressive graphics. And this is nice, particularly Dan, you and I know this is important when we want to create just that right image. We can go over to Unsplash or Pexels or other places that are wonderful, that have a lot of free and legitimately legal to use pictures that we can get. But sometimes they're not just right what I need. I need something a little bit better. Well, I can create it with my voice, typing in text or talking it in there, and then let it create 4 or 5 different options. Canva can do that. Stable Diffusion is another one that will. One of the leaders out there is called Mid-Journey.
Yep.
And Mid-Journey gives you the ability to do this, really gets fancy. And some of them, Dan, they're pretty jaw-dropping incredible. Like, oh my goodness, that was done by a computer? Yeah, it was. And by the way, you own it. We know because under copyright law, if you put your brain power into creating something, then you own it. And so that's kind of nice. You legally have it, you can do it faster, and the cost is pretty reasonable too. And so I think we got a good opportunity here for a lot of challenges that were in the past, and now it's much better going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Some of the tools that are available, and I think I've been tracking a little over 3,500 new AI tools recently. I did the list. There's a lot. My point is, there's a lot of tools out there, but the key is some are better than others. That's why you and I are talking to people now, giving them some of, chopping through and giving them some of the best ones. And then secondly, it is some are free and some cost, because there are some free tools that are great. But typically at some point there's going to be a monetization element to something that's really good, and usually it's worth paying because again, of the way you can get it just exactly the way you want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What about another one that I know that I've been tracking is text to voice, meaning voiceovers, or you wanted to say something and you want a certain type of voice. And I know that in my learning systems and other things I've done over the years, you have a bunch of human talent that you go through and you test their voices and you see how they like. But now there's even more options. We have text to voice using generative AI. Do you have any of those that you like a lot?
Yeah, the one that I really like, I was using just last night with my voice and with other voices that sound like a real human being is 11 Labs. And 11, that's spelled out ELEVEN, 11labs.ai. And it gives you the ability to listen to some voices that you can just put in the text. You type it in or copy and paste it in there, and then it'll come back and read those words in a voice. You go, oh, that sounds pretty good. And some even has the emotion in there, because I'll put something in there like, and we're going to have a really good time. And I'll use that as part of the text. And the voice will give an inflection so that you hear it say something like, and you'll have a really good time. You think, is that a robot or what? And it is. And one of the things you can do with 11 Labs, I really like, I'm doing this for $5 a month, $5 a month, which is in the budget for me. Got that. I take my voice and I gave it about 60 to 90 seconds of my voice. It remembered that. And now when I put the text in there, it comes back reading it, sounding kind of like me. I asked Gina, my fiance, does that sound like me? She goes, it's really close. And if someone doesn't know me, that's okay. And, that's got some real good, kind of like Descript we were talking about before. And of course, we know part of the problem there is, Dan, I could get your voice. You've got enough material out there. I do too. I could take more than 60 seconds, get 90, 120, get some real good voice, and then create an audio that would be saying things that you and I would find despicable, that you would never say. And I'm going, that can't be Dan. I never knew Dan would say that. And so we've got to be careful. This is the reality. It's not something like, oh, gee, I'll say la, 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 and it'll go away. Nope, we got to learn how to deal with it. Realize it exists. There's good and there's bad, just like any technology. What are your thoughts on that, Dan?
Well, yeah, again, technology is not good or evil. It's how you use it. And there always are going to be the bad guys doing bad things on tools and the good guys doing good things on tools. The beauty is we have a choice. I choose to do good things with these tools. However, I also choose to protect myself as best I can against the bad things.
Yep.
And as we've already started to talk about in here. And I think that the thing that is, if we really talk big picture, the thing that is in jeopardy, the way it's going now, being no regulations or anything, is trust is what is in jeopardy right now. If you really take a big picture approach, because the current state, your fiance said, well, that's really close to Terry. However, that's the current state. Remember, I'm a futurist. The future state is that's exactly like Terry.
Yeah, that's a long way in the future, like maybe a month.
Yeah, exactly. So again, you can't think current state. You got to think future state, and it's already at a beyond exponential level. So if you're doing what I want us all to do and think more anticipatory future state, you realize, holy cow. So it can be used for, again, bad things and good things. We just want to use it. Again, I choose, and I know all the people watching this are going to choose to do good things with it, but at the same time protect themselves. So I think that was worth talking about.
Absolutely.
There also are some really fantastic tools for creating videos, where the video, in other words, if I want a salesperson, but I don't want to hire, well, I don't mean a salesperson. Let's say I want to create a marketing piece where there'll be a
Yes.
person
A person
talking,
talking. Yeah,
talking.
explaining the particular parts of that product
Yeah,
or service.
and sounding and looking like a real person and sounding good, where it'll cost me money, but not as much as hiring a talent. And again, we're not
Bingo.
talking about replacing an employee now. We're talking about a specific kind of a talent that you're trying to get. And you want a special look. Maybe you want a certain look for a certain market and a different look for a different market. And matter of fact, you could have 1,000 different looks with what we're talking about here in your marketing. There are some tools for that that are absolutely stunning. What are some that you like? I bet we have some of the same ones that we like, but go ahead.
We probably do. One of the top leaders that I have seen, and I've just played a little bit with it, is Synthesia.
Oh my
And it gives
goodness.
you the ability to use a character image on the screen that looks pretty close to a real human being. You can kind of tell, but again, that's where we are. Wait long term, like a month from now. It'll
Exactly.
be different. But I think we can do that. And that's really good for those training videos, as you mentioned. So we can have someone show me how to use this new widget that I just got, or this new thing here. And that way you can do it. Oh, and here's the real advantage of it, Dan. We can have you and get your image on there and start playing with that some. So it's got your voice and you there. And that could be good. Again, we're going to run into the problems. We could have it fed words that you and I would never use, but someone else saying it. But the advantage is we can also, with the right framing of it and using it, have it move our lips in the right way, speaking another language. So in other words, hey, this is pretty good. There's a lot of competition in the English speaking world on the internet, people that speak English. Not as much for those, like we're here in Orlando, we have a lot of people from Brazil that speak Brazilian Portuguese. And so
Right.
you can have your material that's really good, and we put that into Portuguese. We let a real bona fide Portuguese speaker listen to make sure that the words are said right. And if there's one word that might be better said this way, they take care of it. Now you got a product you can sell there. And then Spain or Mexico, slightly different accents and words. England, by the way, I've noticed they speak a different language in England than we do. They speak
Yeah,
British, we speak American. They're two different, but you
yeah.
can customize that. And so I'm talking to the entrepreneurs out there. Think about how you can take this and the opportunities to take the content you have in your noggin, turn that into many different languages. Talk about building relationships. Now you're building relationships internationally at scale and doing it much better. Now, we're just getting into this right now, which means, hey, for entrepreneurs, this is a good time to jump in. How would you like to have met a guy named Bill Gates just when he was operating out of a garage? You know, just getting started with this thing he called Microsoft, and you got to know him and you worked with it, worked out the bugs, and that would have been really nice. So, Dan, I'm thinking we got some real good opportunities right now.
Well, this type of AI we have now is a synthesis of all the AI types. So in other words, we had deep learning and machine learning and these different elements that were all doing different separate things. But when we started doing large language models, it pulled them all together into one big giant thing that is unbelievably powerful. And it is an inflection point. It is, kind of like the first iPhone or the internet or,
Gutenberg Press.
yeah, Google or, and search. I mean, this is one of those big deal moments, and you don't want to miss the big deal moment because it's going to become a bigger deal. And
Absolutely.
so going back to this software we've been talking about, again, you could, with text prompts, create this video, and it could be used for, again, marketing, sales, but as you very quickly stated, so quickly, I want to make sure they heard it, and that is for creating training videos. That could be unbelievably powerful. And once again, if I wanted to teach it me and my mannerisms and voice and have it learn my video, then I could again have it do work off of text prompts. And there's a lot of different capabilities. That's probably one of the hottest ones out there. Any other ones that you like on the video front, or have you only used that one? Or
That's one that I see the most used and most frequently out there. There are other video type tools that do something a little bit different, like Udly. I think you and I are familiar with Udly, and what it does is a great speech coach. So what it can do is it can listen to you, watch your video, and then suggest ways to improve. So you've got it as a trainer that is there, kind of like you would go to a lab and you get information that the doctor then looks at. So a speech coach could look at that and go, oh, okay, we can help you on this. But I think we're going to see a lot of potential with that as we see it growing. And so right now, entrepreneurs out there, I'm talking to you, entrepreneur to entrepreneur, there's a lot of potential. And we're going to hear about, oh, AI is stealing jobs. Well, there are going to be jobs eliminated, much like right now, we don't have a lot of people around the planet doing farming with oxen and with mules and with a plow. That was the way it was done. That was the technology a few hundred years ago. Today, we use machines. And of course, we'd say, yeah, of course, we're going to use machines. Well, many jobs are going to be displaced, but there's going to be new ones created. What Dan and I are talking about here, these are just the cusp of it. It's just the beginning. Get in there. Saturate your mind with good market valuable skills in the area of AI. Go to the University of YouTube. That's where we go. And there's going to be a bunch of videos out there. Many of them are good, some not quite so good. Don't worry about it. Saturate your mind with that. Start learning about where the opportunities are and listen for where people are hurting. We're going to build relationships. The way you do that, you listen to their pain. Where are they hurting? What do they need? Where do they need help? How can you take what you already know and turn it into that? Like, for instance, let's go back to a farmer, hypothetically, that was using oxen, and now somebody comes up with a machine. That farmer knows a lot about farming, more than just plowing. You can use that and use your brain to get more productivity per crop. So they get more out of their crop that they've got. They're able to do better work as a farmer. Their agriculture grows. They can do even better. But it's got to be done the right way. And now's a great time to get into it.
Yep. I like to think of it. Somebody asked me recently in an interview, will AI replace humans? And my answer was humans using AI will replace humans not using AI.
Bingo. Exactly. That's it. The people that know how to use this will replace you, but you want both. Jan, I love what you said. I like to look at ChatGPT as a copy assistant, and we are the copy chief. You look at a place that runs copy and they write copy, and this is how they make a living. You have many different assistants that can give you feedback. And then you can go from there and make it even better, which, by the way, one of the things I've learned, it's a good idea to have competition in different areas. So you have this one. I like to use ChatGPT. I love it. I also like Perplexity.
Oh, yeah, I love Perplexity too.
Does a lot of good. So I get a little bit different perspective on it. Sometimes it might give me similar feedback, but there might be just one little extra that I get there that I didn't get over here. Put those two together using my own noggin, my own style. And doing that, you're going to be able to get ahead. And for those CEOs and leaders in corporations, you want to look at how you can empower your people to learn how to use it. Not to say don't do this. You want them to know what to do, how to do it, how to make all the nuts, bolts, and wiggle pins fit together in just the right way. Then you've got a real competitive advantage in a marketplace.
Well, one of the things I do like about Perplexity too is it gives you the sources.
Yes.
And not all of them give you the sources. And, I do want to know where this is coming from.
Yep.
So that I know if it's a trusted source or not, at least something that I want to trust.
Absolutely. Dan, I like that because I can go in there and I can say, it shows me this article and it's got 5 points. And so I'm reading, I didn't know that in point number 3. That gives me a way to go even deeper. I love Perplexity. And then it also gives you other prompts to ask it. Say, ask me about this, ask me about that. Oh, that's a great thing to ask. So you type that in next and it's off and running.
Well, for those that are listening, I know many of them have pick up my list of 25 technology hard trends that I publish every year. This is my 40th year of doing that, believe it or not. Holy cow. And one of the things that I've been writing about for a number of years, which makes sense about what we're talking about here, is augmented thinking. And basically AI is augmenting our thinking, not getting rid of our thinking. So, that's because there are things that we can do that AI can't do. There are things that AI can do that we can't do. Boy, too bad we aren't working together. Well, it's going to be more of a symbiotic relationship. Now, we're getting low on time before we go any further, and I would have liked to have done it sooner, but let's do it right now. Terry is giving us a resource. So let's put that up on the screen and see where you can go. It's AI Tools, the number 4, Biz, B-I-Z, AI Tools for Biz. And if you go there, you can, scan it if you'd like. You'll find a bunch of tools that we've talked about in here and some that we didn't have time to talk about. Also, notice you can go to terrybrock.com. And it's Terry's name. Terry, there it is, right down in the corner, terrybrock.com. Go there, you'll find all sorts, because Terry's an amazing speaker, Hall of Fame speaker, as a matter of fact. And he's been an MC for a lot of major conferences. I mean, he does many things and does them all really well. So make sure you check that out. And also, if you go to Burrus.com, you'll also find another handout on AI tools and a list of AI tools, some that we've talked about, some that we haven't. So there's plenty of tools that we've got for you. The key is big lists never get done. Big lists of tools. And I know I asked you in the beginning to have your opportunity antennas up, and I'm sure that you've got a couple that you've written down. Now, don't go and get busy and never look at them. This is too big a deal for that.
Yes.
What I'd like you to do is to, before you go and get busy managing the crisis, I would like you to manage the opportunity and take some of those that you thought were really good. As a matter of fact, rewatch this show if you think you might have missed a few. Take a look at Terry's handout and play around with them, and you'll find out, holy cow, there is something really powerful here. Any final thoughts from you, Terry, on, again, our overall topic was technology to enhance relationships. And because, again, we live in a human world. Any last comment on that as something you'd like them to do?
I think you said it really well. It's opportunity. We've got enormous opportunity because it's easy to get inundated with all the tools out there. So many. Oh, gee, how many can I do? But all of your potential customers, your clients, your members, your patients, whatever term you're going to use for those wonderful people that pay the bills, they need help. And as you can learn something that helps them in a specific area, using these tools as your assistants, you're going to be able to leverage it and go even farther. Now is a wonderful time for opportunity. Yeah, there's always some scary parts of it when we have opportunity. Seize those moments, embrace learning as never before, and have fun doing it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Terry, for your time and your wisdom. I really appreciate it. And you did a fantastic job and shared a lot of great tools. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. Always good to be